In Gaza, one can say that war is chaos. It destroys lives. It shatters hope. But not every tragedy is a genocide, or at least that's what one of the foremost experts on war tells us. He says that in Gaza, some claim that Israel is committing genocide. But what does the law actually say on this? On Fault Lines, we're going to hear from one of the foremost war experts joining us on the broadcast, John Spencer, who's been on the front lines with the Israeli military himself, who breaks down the orders and the reality on the ground. Mr. Spencer, thank you so much for speaking to us on Fault Lines. Let me first start by asking you that you've made two very significant arguments and actually saying something that nobody in the world is saying, which is that there is no genocide happening in Gaza. What's the premise of the argument that you've made, and why is it that you feel that the world has got it completely wrong?
Sure. There's only two main points of the arguments, which are the two kind of attacking the counter argument that in order to have genocide, which is the highest of three, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and then genocide is the highest bar of human evilness, right? So the intent and actions to eliminate an entire group, race, religion, ethnicity. I argue that the statements that have been cited by Israel political leaders, so the prime minister, the minister of defense, and the chief of staff, about how they are going to destroy Hamas, or that Hamas is human animals. These in no way infer genocidal intent, which is the first bar you have to get over. Then you can get to actions. But genocidal intent usually requires, orders, direct statements, and each one of the comments that have been cited are just taken out of context. Of course, you want to destroy your enemy. I mean, they even use Prime Minister Netanyahu's comments about remember Amalek, which is a biblical verse that is posted not only on Israel's Holocaust Memorial national site, it's posted on the Holocaust Memorial in The Hague. Those few words, which means remember the threats that are going to try to attack you. It isn't a call for genocide against a group. The only other argument one is that all these five political statements are not clear evidence of genocidal intent. And as a matter of fact, there are way more comments directly addressing the fact that all of these same individuals, the prime minister, the minister of defense, the chief of staff of Israel's army, have said, our fight is not with the people of Gaza. Just many statements. Of course, that is not factored into these people's arguments who say that there is genocidal intent. They don't factor in all of these direct statements.
Okay. Mr. Spencer, what about the fact that there's been a massive amount of death toll in Gaza since October 2023? A lot of civilians have lost their lives, and the world over is being said that this exactly is genocide. How would you respond to that death toll, which is running and in fact has crossed 50,000 already?
That's right. So, I mean, people can read the Genocide Convention themselves. It's only a few pages. And nowhere in it does it say, well, once you've hit this number of buildings destroyed, this many civilians unfortunately killed, then it's a genocide. That's not the way war works. It's definitely not the way the Genocide Convention works. And the numbers that are cited are very problematic, especially in this war where Hamas does not wear uniforms, does want civilians killed. Even if I'm having this argument, people will say, well, 17,000 children killed. Even that, although unfortunate, any child that gets killed, 17,000 children, that statistic is from Hamas. It includes everybody 18 and below, and Hamas regularly deploys child soldiers. And, there's problems with this list, natural deaths, all of this. The strong argument, you're right. If this was the way that genocidal intent was determined, the number of people killed in a war, almost every war could be classified as a genocide. And none of these things is that the way this works. Genocidal intent is determined by the words and the actions like of the commanders. And this is, again, resting on my primary research, going into Gaza with the IDF and observing their actions, there is no genocidal intent. And there's actually mountains of evidence opposite of trying to eliminate civilians. Mountains of evidence on what the IDF does to separate Hamas from the civilians, on warnings that they give.
Okay. Mr. Spencer, then is everything happening only because of Hamas right now in Gaza? And are you giving a clean chit to Israel and Netanyahu completely in terms of whatever is happening, the death, destruction, devastation in Gaza, all in all is because of Hamas?
No, so there's definitely the main. Of course, there's death and destruction in war, right? I try to give people the context of the war, what Hamas built in Gaza, what the strategies that Hamas uses, the fact that all of the killing would stop if Hamas would give the hostages back and surrender, or the fact that all of the human suffering would have been alleviated had Egypt, to this day still could, open up their gate and allow for a very relatively in numbers small humanitarian area just on the other side of the gate, outside of the grasp of Hamas, who wants all of this conversation to be happening, wants the numbers to be as high as they can be. Every individual action has to be assessed like the law of war requires. So yes, if there's a bombing and civilians are excessive to the goal, then that has to be questioned. But to aggregate it all and say, this is all Israel's fault, which is the narrative here, is that there's a sneaky Israeli objective here, that of course they can't do genocide in the open, so they're doing it very sneakily. That's just again an assault on my critical thinking skills and to those who have actually been there and seeing the efforts the IDF are taking. Of course, there's lots of death, there's lots of destruction. Does that mean that Israel is intentionally doing that? Absolutely not.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. Mr. John Spencer, thanks much for speaking to us on NDTV. Well, viewers, that you heard one of the foremost voices in military history, military experts saying there's actually no genocide that's taken place in Gaza. A huge voice and a huge contra opinion that you're getting right here first on Fault Lines on NDTV.